Barbara Healy, in case someone doesn't know me, and I do adult education at Westport Art Group. And Whitmore Boogaerts has graciously volunteered to do this Zoom and tell us about his artwork, which I'm really excited to hear. The more I hear about it, the more interested I am. This does a lot of cool stuff. So we'll let him talk about it and tell us about himself.
Well, hello, everybody. So, hi. So let's see, I've been making sculpture, things out of metal, I like to say, for about 27 years now, full-time as a job. And let's see, I can make, I started with like half furniture and half sculpture, but I called it WB Sculpture because that's really what I wanted to do. And, but over the years, I've found that like railings and furniture are kind of like sculpture, really. They're part of how people decorate their space, essentially. And,
well, we can see the really cool railing right behind you in your house.
That's a railing I made, yes. Yeah, and so so that doesn't really have function. It's just a little loft, but it adds a nice feeling to the place. That's what really, to me, making sculpture is about energy and feeling. Those are the two really primary things that I'm trying to achieve when I'm making something. Because, a lot of times somebody, say I'm making an outdoor sculpture, they'll have a nice flower bed, that they put all this work into, and then they want to put a sculpture kind of right in the middle of that. And that's, it's kind of a big responsibility on my end to come up with something that does the trick. So let's see. So I've been doing this for, I kind of make and sell most everything myself. And the way I found that works is I go do shows. So I'll go to Northampton. In 2 weeks, I'm going up to Marlborough, Mass. And I work with different promoters. And Northampton and Marlborough are Paradise City is the name of the promoter. And they rent the building, they rent the tents and have the food tent and make it a whole experience for people that go to it. And the people that go to it pay, $12, I think, to get in. And artists from all over the country come and sell their art there. And so that's the first show I did was with them, and I do other ones. I go down to Connecticut. I go down to I was just down in Tarrytown, New York, and so I do about 12 shows a year. And what I found from that is that I make stuff, I can sell stuff maybe a little less than if through a gallery, and then I really like dealing directly with people because I get to see how people react to it, and there's no middleman, which is basically what a gallery is, and so by charging a little less than what a gallery would, I can sell more stuff. Which the bottom line is, then I can make more stuff. I like making things.
So did you go to school for this?
I went to Tulane and I studied civil engineering. And I worked for about 7 years as an engineer, doing all kinds of stuff, cleaning up jet fuel at Pease Air Force Base, designing drainage for parking lots. That's the first thing I did. And then, structural stuff. I worked on the Third Harbor Tunnel in Boston. And then I ran job sites in downtown Boston where they would go and gut a floor and build a new floor. So I did that for about 7 years. But during that time, I started making mobiles and selling them in galleries, and just kind of got my feet wet as far as selling things that I made. But just on that note, when I was in college, I had to pay my way through college, and I worked as a waiter. But I also worked. I don't know where I got the idea, but I would draw people's houses. So I would go up to somebody's house. And when I first did it, it was terrifying. I would just go up to somebody's house and knock on the door and show them examples of what I have done. And it was basically a drawing of somebody's house that looked nice, you know, it kind of tapered off to the sides, and it was just a pen and ink drawing. And I sold about 400 of those. And
Wow.
yeah, it was a lot, right? But I needed the money. It was paying rent, buying books, and you know, food and everything. But the real benefit from that was overcoming the fear of what people think about my work. And today, if somebody looks at it and they'll even say it to me sometimes, I don't really like that one, or it just doesn't register with them or whatever. And you just don't take it personally. You focus on what as an artist, I like to focus on what I like. And if I like it and then somebody else likes it, great. If not, then that's okay. It's just not their thing or whatever. But the selling and the fear of what people think, that's something that everybody has to get over, I think, if you're going to make a living as an artist. So I do shows, and so I kind of like, I call it branches of tree, the tree. So I do outdoor abstracts that, you know, a kinetic on a spring with a piece of glass in it, maybe. Or I've been kind of developing this new branch, which are stainless steel wall pieces. They can hang on the side of the house, or they can go inside on a wall. And, you know, I've done the mobiles, hundreds and hundreds of mobiles.
And
And
you have pieces at Westport Library and in front of Lee's package store.
that's right. So that stainless piece in front of the library, that was a grant that I got. And then through the Westport Art Group, which at the time, no, not the Westport Art Group, the
Probably the
Westport Arts
cultural.
Council.
Yep.
And I was on that at the time, but I had no vote in it. But to me, that was about putting a sculpture in front of the library that people would see as they drove down the road, which now that you brought it up, I'd like to move that sculpture over to, there's another, to the other side of the front entrance there. So it still has that, when they did the renovation, they moved it. But it's about bringing attention to the library and having people, you know, want to go to the library.
Mhm. Did you have
And
a
so,
piece?
yes, I
Do you have a piece? Oh,
yeah.
go ahead. I was going to ask if you had a piece at the back eddy as well.
I have a lot of stuff at the back eddy. I have the
Yeah.
2 fish on the dock, which was actually just in Chronicle. They did a story about Westport, and they had those 2 fish were on on TV as part of a story about Westport.
Nice.
I did the fire pit outside, the benches. There used to be a wall piece of the fish. So, and then I've done a lot of, since you brought that up, a lot of work with restaurants. Not Your Average Joe's. I've done like, I think about 24 of their restaurants. And if you're up on Route 6 and you go to Not Your Average Joe's, they have totems out there and the mobile inside and a bunch of other things there.
Well, I liked your artwork before I knew who you were. I didn't connect it with the artist. I saw them. That's one thing, when you see them, a lot of times you don't, I'd see even ones around town now that I know they're yours, but a lot of times you don't know who did them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's when you're seeing those, that's more of a public art. And public art is just great because it's something that just kind of becomes part of our lives in a way. You know, we don't take it for granted, but it just adds a nice flavor to the surroundings that we live in. And I've done a fair amount of public art, but really like sheer number of pieces are things in people's backyards, maybe their front yards, you know, inside their house. And
Well,
So-
show us some pieces.
Okay. So before I do that, I got a little PowerPoint I'd be happy to show you. But I just wanted to show you, I'll draw things out on just a pen and ink. So I have some tables there. And just kind of get a bunch of ideas. And then I'll look at this book and I'll go back and maybe, pick a couple of them and make some tables. And this is really
Have you done
kind of what I
any
signed up
collaborative
for, was making different things all the time. Like I could make something and really refine it and, kind of make a business out of it. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something, so I just, for the rest of my life, I just keep coming up with new ideas. And I made a bunch of these kind of were based on these drawings and they're all gone. They're at people's houses. And so you can see those are a little, these are a little more human face. And so that's kind of what I was talking about. So those are a little they're a little weird, that's okay. But they're
Of
more
course.
figurative, and then the face. And here are some of the wall pieces. And these can be anywhere from 5-6 feet across. And so somebody will see something and they're like, oh, I really like that one. And then they'll have something in mind, right? But they wanted a bigger, and I don't like to repeat things. And so a lot of the time, people will send me a picture of where they want to put something. I say, send me a picture as if we're looking at, as if you're taking a picture of the piece. This was, I did a coffee table for some people, and I just did a bunch of drawings. I just took a picture of this page and sent it to them, and they picked one. But then you have to do some things that don't really make sense either. Just kind of messing around, because then all of a sudden that leads to something else. These are kind of how do you say it? A thick branch of the tree. I've done a lot of abstracts that are kind of not cosmic, but just abstracts.
Well, I can see where they have the influence of mobiles.
Yes, it's funny because I'll hear that. Somebody will see one of those and they'll be like, oh, that kind of reminds me of Calder. I was like, it's not even a mobile. How is that? And so I also use this on my iPad. I don't know if you ever draw on an iPad. It's great. It's very easy. If you have an iPad, just buy a pencil. And then I think it's called Procreate. It is called Procreate. But you can see this is somebody had a fireplace on their wall. And we went back and forth and she was involved in it. She actually came to my studio and picked out the glass and we laid it all out. And I made that frame around her fireplace. But it all started with her sending me a picture and me drawing on the photograph, which is a great way to visualize with people. I'm just looking for another example. So here's another example. This is, and I'm sorry if it's hard to see. This is at Cisco Brewers in New Bedford, which opened a few months ago, or last summer maybe. And they needed a wine glass rack. And so I took a picture and I drew on that photo of, it's got the Cisco wave in it, and we got all the dimensions and everything. And so that's a nice tool to, when you're doing a collaboration with somebody. So, should we look at a slideshow or a PowerPoint?
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna hit. First let's do a little. I'll show you a picture of me welding. or a video. This is at my old studio in Providence. So you can see it's all steel. It needs to be welded first. And this job is not for everybody. Sorry, this is not the best video, but it gives you an idea of it.
Have your materials gotten more expensive?
Yeah, I mean, the materials are really not a huge expense for me. I mean, they are, but I've been getting stuff with the pandemic. I started getting things cut out by a CNC. So I learned a digital a vector program, Adobe Illustrator, and so I have, because I had a guy for 10 years, and the pandemic kind of crushed that, and so I've have things cut out at Mid-City Steel and other places to so I don't have to, so there's less grinding. But this job is, there's a lot of welding, grinding. I wear earplugs, face shields. I'll get burns. I'll get, you know, pieces of metal stuck in my eye. And it's a rough job in that way. It's physical. I'm standing up all day, you know, moving heavy stuff around. And so, but that's another reason I left engineering, is I wanted to not sit in a cubicle all day. I wanted to be moving around. So this is a little PowerPoint. Can everybody see?
Yes, looks
Good.
great.
Good. So this is just kind of it's about 4.5 feet tall, and it's got the brown is rusted steel, and then the silver is stainless steel, and the eyeball is glass. So they're meant to be outside year round. They're maintenance free. So people don't ever call me and say, oh, you know, can we fix this thing? They just come back and get another piece. That's kind of the idea. And then the stainless is nice because it adds, the stainless is nice because you can see a little bit in that picture how it's catching the light. And you know how people put rusted things in their garden just because the color is nice? So I like these materials. For one, they're maintenance free and they look like they're supposed to over time, but also they work with the environment nicely. They go with, you know, the plants and the rocks. And then here, these are some older pieces of furniture I made, but I actually just made some chairs for people. They made 2 and they had the little springs, so they actually bounce and they're quite comfortable, light. The piece on the left is about 13 feet tall, and that's up in Shrewsbury right now. And it's at the entrance to a sculpture garden on Route 20. And then the piece on the right is about 6 feet tall, and that picture is taken up in Vermont. The figure has all those springs in it, so the whole thing jiggles, and that's about 6.5 feet tall. And then that's a figure, and there's actually a figure that's along that line in front of Denny's Closet on Main Road. And there's at Denny's Closet, Denise also has a big green and blue abstract piece to the right of the store. If you're driving down the road, you'll see it. And I made that, which is an old one. This is the Shrewsbury Library. And there's a gentleman I know, he was in the business of selling hair products. So he's a businessman, but he loved putting art everywhere. And so he has lives in Shrewsbury, Mass, right near Worcester, and has donated funds to help make this new. They did a $23 million library expansion, and so this is all new. And then downstairs is a children's library, and so the challenge was to, when you look out the window from the library, instead of looking at a concrete wall, we wanted to make something that was a little more fun and brighten up the library just from the view outside the window. And so what we came up with, it was my idea, and everybody seemed to like that, was to do kind of an underwater scene. And we made all the fish out of stainless steel and bolted them to the wall. And so again, with the stainless steel, it's about reflecting the light. And it really came out nice. And then so phase 2 was right around the corner. He had this other concrete wall, and concrete's kind of boring in a way, and it's nice to spice it up. And so we did a dragon. You can see the head over on the right there. Kind of like it was going in and out of the ground to make this little corner. And as you drive into the front door, you drive right by this.
Are they sharp?
Are they sharp?
Sharp,
That's
like to touch?
1/8-inch plate, and it's bolted flat to the wall. And so it looks like it's 3-dimensional because of the way we ground it. So when you use your sanding pad on your grinder, it catches the light differently.
But it doesn't, the edges of it aren't sharp.
No, it's only an 1/8 off the wall. It's flat.
Okay. Well, I just thought even that, it looks like the edges are sharp, but it's optical illusion.
Yeah, that was the goal. Matt, the guy that worked for me at the time, did that, and he was really into it. And you can see it. I mean, I don't have a pointer, but the spikes on the dragon look like they have shadowing on them. And
Yep.
he did that with the grinder. So that's, again, it's playing with light. This is on the right is a gate, and he just didn't give me a lot of criteria, but he's got another section on the other side of the house, and he wanted a certain kind of color. And so I did some drawings, and then we came up with that. And that's all stainless steel and mahogany with glass. And you can see the house is kind of a turquoise, which he likes a lot of color. And so we had to work with that a bit. And then the other is a commission, and both of these are commissions, but that's all stainless steel railing at somebody's house. And I think that was inspired by the railing I did at my house. Can anybody read that? How do you do this?
I can read it. The underlying
good.
theme is to work with the setting and environment while hopefully adding beauty. It is achieved by observing existing details, then building from there. For example,
So say somebody wants a railing, I go look at their house or whatever it is, the building, the setting, and I try to incorporate something in the design, because then they're working together. This is kind of this is a little cheating in that way, but you can see the curves on the bridge are working with the curves on that piece. Here's some other work I've done. This is more public. That's the Not Your Average Joe's up in Beverly, Mass, which is since closed, and the owner kept that piece, and that's the one that's over in Dartmouth right now in Route 6. And then the piece on the right is a sculpture with the building number on it, and that's in Fall River. It's a bank building. You can see it from 195. This is a wall piece, and that is actually up at Mid-City Steel right now in the office. They've got they've taped a lot of paper to the wall around it, so it's not quite as nicely displayed. This is for a restaurant, Not Your Average Joe's. I can't remember where this was, but they wanted something to hold wine bottles. And so I came up with that to kind of get people to have some wine with dinner, I guess. And that's up on Route 6. You can see it's an older picture because I think they've painted the building now. And this is on the second floor. It's in a living room at somebody's house, and they live in near Wakefield or Wickford, Rhode Island. And this is an opening up on the second floor looking down in the living room. And they had a really kind of straightforward oak railing, you know, not even curved pieces, just straight, you know, square cut oak. And so they took that out and they said, just go nuts, do something fun there. And so that's what we tried to do. Kind of organic. This is another example of outdoor pieces. That's the library. It used to be wood, so it was darker. That's why I like this stainless for a nice contrast. Back, Eddie. Used to make the totem poles. I haven't made them in a while, but I think that one's like 12 feet tall. So as I've gotten older, I've kind of gotten a little lighter with this, you know, smaller pieces, easier to move around. And that is that. So this is my website, and that's my Instagram.
Well, the more I see them, the more I recognize that I've seen them in people's gardens as far as in a lot of the public ones.
Sorry. Oh, here it is.
I have a few questions, or just statements. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I think that when I was in college, I had a friend that was working for you, Jay Quinton.
Oh, Jay.
Yeah. And so I remember that, and he worked really hard. He was always talking about it. Yeah.
Jay was with me for a long time. And I think he went on to do framing after, right? And he worked in the construction.
I'm not really sure. We kind of lost touch after college, but.
Okay, yeah. He's a very nice guy. I think he's got at least a daughter.
And I also wanted to ask, do you have an agent? Because you seem to be doing a lot of work.
Yeah, so I worked with this woman, Betty Bothero, up in Boston. And she had two different galleries on Newbury Street in Boston. And she found that really what she was doing was corporate art installations. You know, she goes to hospitals and office buildings and helps them decorate their spaces. And she's really good at it. And so I have 5 pieces at the Children's Hospital because of her.
Nice.
I have 3 pieces at UMass Memorial in Worcester because of her. And she's got my stuff all over. And so she's a corporate art dealer. I think that's how you say that. And so she works with the building, you know, the people that are in charge of doing that.
Can I jump in for a minute?
Yes, Carol. Hi.
Hi there. Hi, Whit. I first met Whit quite a long time ago. I was just trying to think, 10, 15 years ago. I lived in Boston and I saw his art in front of a beautiful building, a gallery on Newbury Street. And that drew me into the gallery, and the owner had a beautiful deck out in back of her building, and it was filled with pieces of Whit's art. And I've loved it since I've seen it. In fact, I now have in this home here in Westport, I have 5 pieces in my yard now. You're all welcome to come see them.
But you are officially a collector.
Well, I'm a collector now. But she told me, happened to mention he was from Westport, and I went, aha. So I tracked him down when he was in his gallery and had his facility on Cornell Road
Yep.
down at the end, and have sort of followed him since and have had pieces of his ever since. I absolutely love his work. It just is so much life and joy to it. I have little things tucked in gardens here, and it's great fun. So it's been fun getting to know Whit and his wife and the beautiful work they do together.
That's very nice, Carol. Thank you.
And
And,
what
and a railing. And I have a
Yes.
railing of his. Yeah.
Nice.
you did the South Coast Open Studio Tour this summer.
Yeah, so just this year, we just finished building a building at 1138 Horseneck Road. And it's a new studio building. It's almost 3,000 square feet. My wife does ceramics and she's got her space in there. And we did the South Coast Artist Tour. And then I actually do Open Studio Tour. I did one in September. And it's just been so great to be back in Westport. Thank you, Carol. And so I had my studio in Providence for 16 years in a 7,000 square foot industrial building. It was huge. There was no windows on it though. And so it's really nice to be kind of back out of the city into the country. And if you want to be on the email list, I send 4 emails a year only. And it just kind of announces, open studios and stuff. But people come over all the time. They reach out to me and then they say, hey, what do you have that's 5 or 6 feet tall? And I can either send them pictures or they can come take a look.
Nice. Well, does anyone else have any other questions?
I just wanted to say that I was a sculpture major at UMass Dartmouth.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, and I love your work. And for me, it's been difficult just financially to make sculpture. So I've been making a lot of collage lately, but I
There you
need,
go. Yep.
yeah, but I really want to get back into making more sculpture. And
Like,
I
out of
love
what
the
materials?
work.
What
What's that?
materials are you thinking? Like wood or metal?
Well, I really enjoyed doing the figure in clay and, or doing it in wax. And that's my dream, is to just do some figurative work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I really enjoy your whimsical designs. They're really beautiful.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any collaborative work with other artists in the area?
Well, I mean, really, when I do the commissions, those are collaborations. I think, Carol, don't you feel like you had a lot of say in that railing that you have at your house now?
Absolutely, absolutely, because your original place on Cornell Road has this, Whit's work if you see mailboxes with these big circles underneath. And
Right.
so when he did my railing, I said, well, how about a little circle? And the woman who just asked about other collaborators, because of Whit, I met this wonderful stone carving man and who made me a beautiful granite bird bath here, because he's a friend of Whit's and they have one in their yard on down on Horseneck Road. So yes, he has a lot of good connections here.
Yes, thank you. But to answer your question, so that was Andy made the bird bath.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the times you just like, say Andy wanted to make the stone top, then I would do the base. So, I've done a lot of collaborations. It's not like if you're a musician, you can collaborate. It's more like you have to come up with it. It's just different every time when you do collaborate with people.
I guess my question was if you had ever worked on any particular pieces with other artists like Barney Zeitz or anything like that. I know that he's, quite renowned in the area as well with
Wait, can you say that again?
I was just asking if you actually did any collaborative pieces like with Barney Zeitz at all. He's a local artist as well.
I don't know, Barney.
No. Okay.
What kind of work does Barney do?
Stainless steel work as well. He just did a big, huge collaborative piece in Fall River on the city hall.
Oh,
And
cool.
it, it was kind of like a cultural piece. It incorporated indigenous and Portuguese immigrants and so forth within the piece. So I was curious. He has a lot of metal sculptures throughout Massachusetts as well, and works with stainless quite a bit too. Does some mobiles as well.
Well,
So
I
that's why
should
was
really
wondering.
know about him. What's his last name? I'm sorry.
Zeets with a Z. Bonnie Zeets.
Zeets?
Yes, Bonnie Zeets. Mhm.
Great. I'm going to look into him, and I want to know about him because there's somebody around here that makes like kind of rusted and stainless pieces that are like pointy, and then they
He does
have
both.
like,
Yeah, he has done both.
yep. Great. Well, thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just
Oh,
sent my,
Barbara? Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, I just sent my email. If I could get on your email address, your email list.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Well, I hope to see you, Eileen, right?
Yeah.
Well, I hope we see you at one of the open studio tours or whatever.
Oh, cool. That would be great. But you
Yeah.
know what? Just so you know, I have an auction going on at Gallery X this month. So check it out.
What do you, is it like a fundraiser? What do you mean?
It is a fundraiser for a guy from Westport that passed away, actually. Greg Mata, did you know him?
I don't think so.
No, he was a visual artist and a musician and a surfer in the area, and I made a collage of him and I put it on auction. So it's on auction this month at Gallery X.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice of you. And
Mhm.
that's how I donate too. I don't have a lot of
Mhm.
money to give, but I just donated a piece to the Westport River Watershed Alliance. And it was Carol, your sister was there, I think. I spoke with her, and they got a bunch of people got into a bidding war. And so it raised a bunch of money for the nonprofit. And so I
Oh, that's
donate
great.
pieces all the time.
You
because they're
donated to the Westport Education Foundation as well. You're very
Right, right.
generous that way. Yeah,
Yep.
Mm.
Yep.
Very,
Thank you
very
for
much.
taking, doing that.
very special.
well, thank you so much for doing this. It was great.
My pleasure, Barbara. Thanks for organizing it.
Thank
And,
you.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm hoping
Thank
to get to
you.
one of your open studios. I couldn't come to South Coast because I was doing my own, but when is your next one that you plan on having, in the spring or?
Oh, that would be in the spring sometime. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
That's through South Coast Artists? Is that
Well,
through
the
South-
South Coast won't be till the summer.
Oh, okay. So which one is this one? Is it your own?
I usually do that in the spring and the fall.
Okay. And it's just private,
I'm
it's
trying to
just you?
figure that out with the South Coast artist thing. I don't want to do, overdo it really, but
Right. Oh, cool. I'll check that out.
Well,
Yeah.
those of us who are on the tour can't come during the artist thing, so we'd like to have another time when we can come.
yeah.
It's
That'd be
it's
nice.
hard to miss his home if you drive down the end of Horseneck Road towards the beach, because the sides of his building, absolutely that he lives there. It's just beautiful pieces in his yard. So
Good.
Well, thank you,
Very
Carol. Yeah,
nice.
we're just north of the Bayside Restaurant, just south
Yep.
of Sylvan Nursery.
yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Very
Did you make the
good.
railing that's behind you as well?
I did that one. Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah, I kind of like, it's when you live somewhere and instead of buying a table, like the table that the laptop is sitting on is,
Yeah.
yeah, it's, you know what? I do have a talent, and I don't think it's really bragging, like saying that,
Yeah.
but I like when I talk to kids or whoever, share what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I'm good at, and I make things for people, but right underneath that is I take care of people. And
Do.
that's what, you know, in the years of doing this, that's how I kind of boiled it down to. That's what I
Yeah.
do. I make things and I take care of people.
And when
I
you
feel
say
lucky,
something
very
will
lucky
be,
to be able to do
when you
that.
say something will be done at a certain time, it's done by a certain time.
Most of the time, I'm right on, yes.
Yep. Very fair.
Well, they're
Well-
really wonderful sculptures. I just think they're so whimsical and